Well, good morning, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Steve Collins coming to you from beautiful San Antonio, Texas, the second most powerful, passionate, purposeful coach and speaker in the world. Good Monday morning to you. I know that this is a pretty hardcore subject for a Monday morning. However, that whole Monday morning thing, that whole, the end of the year thing, the whole, when, the new year starts, then I'll begin thing. There's a whole lot of mindsets. Let me tell you, there's two perfect times to plant a tree, okay? Time number one is 50 years ago, and time number two is today. So there's no reason to wait to have the tough conversations. There is an epidemic, if you will, a prolific amount of infidelity, particularly in this country. It's a global issue, but particularly in this country. And those of you that follow me know that I have a certain affinity towards addressing sacred cows or taboo conversations because I ain't afraid to have the conversation. So we're going to have a conversation because I never come from a place of judgment. I always come from a place of curiosity and understanding. That's why I had that tattoo there that y'all saw right there, a question mark with the heart at the bottom of it. If we understood a man or woman's story from the time of their birth through their upbringing until the time that they arrived at their choices and indiscretions, we would have an understanding of why choices and decisions were made. Now, that does not excuse the choices. That does not make the choices okay. That doesn't make them right. It doesn't make you cool with them. It just provides you understanding. And depending on how close you are to the shrapnel of that explosion will determine how long it may take you to heal from that and even have a desire at all to have any type of understanding. It doesn't make the situation better. What it does is it gives you some hope of having a freedom of one day being able to process it in a way that does not cause you incredible pain, therefore minimizing that person's influence in your life. It's been said the person who has the most influence in your life is the person who you have not forgiven. So let's do this. Why do people have affairs? Well, this is my opinion. This is my experience of observation. Now, Angela and I have been married for 25 years, and we have a great marriage. And I will tell you, however, she is a fiery Latina, so I'm always 3 fights away from being stabbed in the chest, and I sleep with one eye open because that woman is incredible. She's an amazing person. And one of the biggest challenges, first and foremost, moving forward with this conversation is just because something is not a challenge for one person doesn't make it not a challenge for another person. And people tend to judge others for sins and stuff that they struggle with because it's not a struggle for them. It's like the alcoholic whose friends and family love the alcoholic who do not have alcoholism that say to the alcoholic, well, Bob, if you would just stop drinking, everything would be fantastic. Bob, you just got to stop drinking. Well, the challenge there is that, Mary, you don't have the alcoholism. So to tell Bob to stop drinking it just doesn't work like that. Otherwise, Bob will go, hot damn, all I got to do is stop drinking? Why didn't I think of that? Doesn't work like that. So first of all, you step out of judgment and into curiosity. I have noticed a incredible increase in infidelity in marriages, and it's heartbreaking to me, especially marriages where there are children involved, because the effects of those indiscretions are very long lasting and tend to be multi-generational. So why? Let's break it down between men and women with my observation. Why do men have affairs? Well, plain and simple, I will tell you from the get-go. It is because typically men get married normally because they have an idea of what married life will be like. And I don't care who the guy is. If a man marries a woman in particular, men are different than women. I'm not sexist. I'm just relevant. Men and women are different. And sure, there are anomalies that have characteristics of either quality, but men and women are different. One example, men can go on a 4-day hunting trip, come home, the wife says, So what did you and Bob talk about? How's Bob doing? I don't know how Bob's doing. Well, how's his wife Mary? She had surgery last week. She did? Yes, he didn't talk about it? No, he didn't talk about it at all. Well, what did y'all talk about? We didn't talk about nothing. You were in a blind for 4 days with each other. What did you talk about? Honey, we didn't talk about nothing. Does it make sense? You would never see women locked in a deer blind together for 4 days without speaking a word. Does this make sense? There's communication. Needs are different for every person. So let's begin with men in particular. Men in particular have an idea of what marriage will be like. And the challenge is, if a man is not committed to a covenant commitment and a decision that I am going to work things out regardless of what happens. I'm going to work things out. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to work on us. I'm going to put the time, effort, and energy in. Everybody wants everything to be easy. And a guy, for the most part, would love nothing more than a cheerleader who always wants to have sex. Sorry, if you haven't heard this before, ask a guy. It's just the way, most guys, there's depth to guys and they want to have communication of clearly. But what I'm saying is, when life gets busy, when kids show up, when pressure mounts, when the bills are not being paid, or when the debts are rising, or when there's a lapse in their ability to provide, maybe from losing a job, or on the far end of the spectrum where there is immense success, to where all the things the guy can buy and get is there, boredom can creep in if there are not boundaries around that man's life. And boredom can creep in, and then guys get weird. They're just looking for the next thrill, looking for the next excitement. And if a guy feels like a rock star in the marketplace and he feels like a nincompoop at home, people tend to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. Subconsciously, the guy will spend more time at work, and then sure enough, sometime, somewhere, some sweet little young thing's gonna come up and go, Bob, you're amazing. You're so amazing. And Bob goes, well, damn, I wish Mary would believe that. She hasn't said nothing nice to me in years. All she does is complain and this and that. And a guy begins to justify. Where does it start? It starts in the thoughts. It starts in the compromising of the thoughts and the allowing of the man to allow his eyes and heart to be enticed by the praise of other women, or by opening himself up to flirtation, or by opening himself up to have his emotional needs met from a person other than his wife. What does that mean, Steve? Well, Steve, that sucks. Are you trying to say a guy that's married needs to walk around feeling like crap, not getting those emotional needs met from other people? I'm not saying he has to do that. I'm saying if he wants to stay married and have a chance of working it out and growing as a person, that would be a really wise choice. But Steve, that's hard as hell. Well, welcome to life, Buttercup. Suck it up. That's the way that it is. You got to put in the hard work. Nobody wound up at the top of Everest and said, how the hell did I get up on this mountain? No, they worked their freaking butts off all the way up to get to the top of that. It takes work. And it's easier to just go, I'm tired of this, I want to go for that. So for the most part, if a man does not feel acknowledged, if a man does not feel appreciated, if a man does not feel desirable, if a man feels like a failure in a relationship with a woman, and there's another woman out there that is willing to meet that need, and the guy doesn't have a commitment to feel the pain of rejection for maybe a long season while they work things out, then the guy's going to fall into the trap. Plain and simple. That's the main reason why, is that guys want to feel connected, they want to feel appreciated, they want to feel important, they want to feel loved, they want to feel like they mean something to somebody. And when that wanes, a guy can get weird if he doesn't have principles, okay? So that's one of the issues. Two, for the woman's part, why would a woman have an affair? Very, very different from a guy. Typically, it's because a woman craves an intimate connection and relationship that normally comes through verbal communication. Now, I'm going to go into science for just a second for y'all that's going to blow your minds. There is a chemical in the body called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical that the brain and body produce that creates a bonding, a sense of bonding and connection. Now, women, when they are talking and communicating with one another verbally, whether it be with a man or a woman, when women are communicating and talking, oxytocin is released at massive levels. This is why a woman who is open to deep conversations will feel connected to another person, because the oxytocin is released that creates that bonding, and then they can lock into one another, because oxytocin is this bonding agent that the body produces. Does this make sense? It's one of the reasons why she may have fallen in love with the dude early on, because guess what he did on dates? He didn't just order food, drink a beer, burp and fart, and go home and want to have sex. He actually talked to her. He actually shared what was going on in his mind and his heart. He listened to her. He was into her, and there was a connection made, oxytocin. Now with men, oxytocin is not released when they communicate. Bonding doesn't happen when they communicate. Oxytocin does not get released when it communicates. There's only one time, scientifically proven, that the oxytocin release in a man's brain and body is at the level of women conversing at a high level, and that's when the man does his thing. If you know what I'm saying, for those of you who have children that may be watching this, you know what I'm talking about. Whoop! That moment that the dude, well, you know what I'm talking about. In that moment at the end of the course of interness, when he does his thing, oxytocin is released in massive levels, and then there's a connection. Does this make sense? A sense of connection, a bonding thing. So think about this, if this blows your mind. When oxytocin is released at a high level for bonding in a female by talking, and oxytocin is released for bonding at a high level in a male when he whoop, whoop, does his thing, what have you noticed, my married friends, in observation when y'all are fighting and arguing? He closes his and won't talk, and she closes her legs, and that you ain't getting none of this. And he's like, and I ain't gonna talk to you. The very thing that creates connection with her, communication, he shuts off. Not even thinking about it. He's not going, well, scientifically, I'm gonna cause my wife to suffer by no longer allowing her oxytocin to be released in our relationship, therefore causing her to feel the security of a bond, because I understand scientifically that if I do not speak to her, then she will not feel bonded to me, and that's my way of, getting back at her. Guys don't think that. They just, I ain't gonna talk to her, because he knows that that's what she wants. She would love to talk. And the woman says, if you think you're getting, no, the fun house is closed to you. The fun house is closed. No fun house for you. She's not saying, now, scientifically, here's what I understand is going to happen. By closing the fun house down here, he is not going to feel bonded and close to me. He's going to feel really discontented, and he's going to feel far away, and therefore, I'm going to make him pay like that. They're not making scientific decisions. These are typically emotional reactions of ways that we respond to one another, but biologically, there's some stuff going on. So women will tend to have an affair when they, married women, when they are connecting with and talking with at a deep and high level with a guy. Bob comes home from work, he cracks open a beer, takes off his shirt, scratches his beer belly, sits on the couch and watches TV while she's doing all the stuff, and he doesn't acknowledge her. Maybe she got her hair done that day. Maybe she got a new dress or something, and she's just hoping that Bob notices, and Bob doesn't notice. Bob says, can you make me a sandwich while you're in there? I know I'm going to extremes that y'all feel what I'm talking about here, and he's just like, hey, what do you mean? Bob, you never tell me you love me. I told you I loved you. We got married 14 years ago. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? I'm still married to you, right? Bob, you need a clue. You need help. And he's not connecting because there's no talking, there's no conversation. Bitterness sets in, hopelessness sets in, and then Mary goes to work, and guess what happens at work? Johnny notices Mary's hair. Johnny notices Mary's new dress. Hey, Mary, did you change your hair? I did. You did? Oh, looks nice. Oh, thank you. And Mary starts having a conversation with Johnny. Just conversation. Now, Mary doesn't want sex. Mary's not trying to get in bed. Mary just wants a conversation. She wants to feel heard. She wants to feel understood. She wants to know that somebody's noticing her and that she's still attractive and that she's still interesting and that there's more to her life than laundry and dishes and cleaning the house and getting the kids to their sports events. And Johnny happens to listen. And Johnny is the listener that listens maybe for months. And then they have the company get together out of town for the big seminar, and they wind up at the bar and they're having conversations, and the next thing you know, they're in bed. And boom, there you go. So it's different for men and women. And what is my point? With the prolific amount of affairs out there, here's the bottom line. Either way, you're going to pay. You're either going to pay by putting in the work into yourself, into your relationship, and getting help. What does help look like? It may be a counselor. It may be coaches. It may be seminars. It may be events. But you will put in the work to make it better, or you will have a fleeting moment of physical, emotional fun that will carry with it consequences and a price you don't want to pay, that you will be paying for the rest of your life. And guess what happens? A few years after that little affair where everything's so nice and the shiny object is cool, guess what happens? The same issues arise. And now you're dealing with another person who has their own issues and their own stuff, except now behind you there is a wake of broken and shattered lives. Maybe children, maybe parents, maybe your heart. And so it gets messed up again. Guy doesn't feel appreciated again. Woman doesn't feel listened to again. And the cycle starts all over again. And now the next thing you know, there's a moment of emotional and physical pleasure that makes people feel good for a minute. And bam, the cycle begins again. After a few years of that, you're boring. I'm upset. I don't feel loved. You don't feel listened to. This is ridiculous. Oh, now Sally Sue at the office is paying attention to me. Oh, now Mikey is listening to me and hearing me, and the cycle perpetuates itself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to be in a relationship with another human being, get this straight. You're going to be dealing with a whack individual. You're going to be dealing with crazy town. And guess what? They're going to be dealing with you and your whack and your crazy town too. All of us are doing the best we can with what we have. And the challenge is simply this. If you don't get it right with the person you're with, it's going to show up again with choice number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 down the line. Either way, you're going to pay. You're either going to pay with the discipline of doing the work, getting the healing, getting the hurt, getting frickin' help, or you are going to pay by making an egregious indiscretion that causes a wake of pain and brokenheartedness for all those around you, destroying potentially the lives and the hearts of children and family members and even yourself, just to perpetuate doing it over and over again when the next person gets whack. So what is my advice to you? I'm really glad you didn't ask. My advice to you is this: get help. Get help. Get someone to help you. Getting help is not weakness, it's wisdom. You are stupid if you don't get help. You are ignorant if you don't get help. You are foolish if you don't get help. You're saying, my pride and my ego are too important for me to ask anybody for help. And besides, it's private. It's my own business. Get over that. That's so stupid. Get help. Get coaching. Get counseling, get therapy, get something. It's your freaking life. And you will live it over and over and over again until you get it right. And guess what? For things to get better, you got to get better. And for things to work out, you going to have to put in the work. If it's going to be great, it's going to be because you did the great work. You did the hard work. The stuff ain't going to change. The other person in the relationship ain't going to change. You got to change. It's on you. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't know who may need to hear this. I always pray every morning, Lord, what do you want me to talk about today? I get the subject. I said, whoo, really, on a Monday morning? All right, then, let's go there. So share this with whoever you need to. Again, I'm coming from a place of help and a heart for hope for couples, not a place of judgment. I don't judge anybody. If you knew the person's story from the time of birth to the time of the egregious indiscretion, you would have incredible compassion on them. You would understand it. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it okay, doesn't mean there's no consequences. Just gives you the ability to go, I get where they're coming from. Understand, I can see how that could have happened. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. But see, the thing is, you don't know the whole story. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it okay, doesn't mean there's no consequences. But you not being able to hold on to the bitterness that's poisoning you is a gift for you to be able to say, all right, I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys have a great Monday.